Welcome back to Fully Loaded. This is your host, JC Cornell, alongside Samer Ali, as always. Guys, don't forget, we launched the 813 TV. You can find this podcast now on the 813 YouTube channel, and also follow us on Twitter at the 813 TV and on Instagram. Samer, we got a big game this weekend. Lions at home. This is a repeat of the playoff matchup we lost. That was a very close game. Where are we kicking this off?
I mean, big news just before we get on here to record the show is Todd Bowles confirming that Antoine Winfield is out, Luke Gedeke is out, and Kalijah Kancey is also out. So that's 3 starters for the Bucs between the two sides of the ball. The Luke Gedeke one, kind of a curve ball. We didn't really know about it. All of a sudden, he's in concussion protocol. He practices one day fully. Next day, he's out there. He's participating, but seemingly takes a step back. And then today, he's not out there at all, and it's Skule taking the right tackle starter rep snaps during practice, and now he's completely been ruled out of the game. So that's a big one, heading into a matchup with the Lions, who have Hutch, who they love to move around from one side to the other, and if he's banging his head against the wall, and Tristan Wirfs, who I expect to have a bounce-back game, then naturally you're going to have him matched up against the unknown Skule, the backup for a reason. Liam Cohen's going to have something in place to make sure that doesn't become something that blows up the entire offense this Sunday.
Yeah, obviously the biggest thing with Gedeke is Aiden Hutchinson rushing against Skule. That's going to be tough, man. That changes the whole dynamic of this entire game. I was very confident going into this game, knowing Gedeke was our right tackle. This is a major blow. This is a bigger blow to me than losing Winfield for this game.
Yeah, because you have Jordan Whitehead. Zion seems to be, trending upward. So I think he's going to end up playing. Hopefully he gets through the last, concussion protocol. Todd didn't want to confirm nor deny. He just said he still has to work through that, but he's not been ruled out, which is good news. But man, going back to Gedeke, like the one thing that makes me feel a little better is that last week against the Rams also had a makeshift offensive line because they had some injuries and they kind of figured things out. And Liam, if you look back at the game against the Commanders, Baker was getting the ball out second quickest across the NFL in terms of quarterbacks. And a lot of that stuff was by design. Like the third down passes to Chris Godwin, they were almost always open immediately. They were the first read, boom. So I expect Liam to have some packages or plays put in place to where he's not back there patting the ball for 3, 4, 5 seconds. You're just going to have to play, with that weakness and kind of scheme around it. It's good that they've known about it all week as opposed to just Friday morning waking up, he's out kind of scenario, right? But I expect them to have something in place to get the ball out quickly, and it works in our favor if we think about it that way, right? We have fast wide receivers in Jalen McMillan, Trey Palmer. Chris Godwin's really reliable with his hands. He runs a lot of those Cooper Kupp routes that get open very, very quickly. You got Rashad, you got Bucky. Guys, get their balls in their hands quickly and just let them go, and maybe works out for us.
All right. We're gonna get there. You're getting jacked up. Jacked up. Let's get to the first topic. First topic for me is I think this game could be a shootout.
Yeah.
And for this game to be a shootout, Baker's got to be over 300 yards in the air. If you go back to the Detroit playoff game, Lions won 31-23. Baker Mayfield was 26 for 41, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and he threw for like 330 yards. So cut out the picks and have another big game like that, then that's a whole different type of ball game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect them to throw the ball 40 times. I'll say that much. I think in order to beat a team like the Lions, I do think it's a shootout, but you also got to control the clock a little bit and see if you can keep the ball out of their hands a little bit. But we controlled the clock against the Commanders because we were throwing the ball efficiently, right? Catching passes, first downs on third down, making sure you convert those third downs and continue to kind of grind the clock. And that's kind of what the offense is set to do. Again, last week when they faced the Rams, Matthew Stafford running for his life. He had his way with that secondary, man. If we're going to talk about the weakness of the Lions, it's the secondary. And that's what, again, makes me feel like this is going to be a shootout type of game. And with the injuries with Winfield and Kalijah Kancey, creating pressure up the middle on Goff is going to be a little bit tougher task than you think. But if Zion plays, then, it's going to be a back and forth type of game where hopefully the team that doesn't turn the ball over, I think, wins this game. You're right. It'll be a type of shootout. Baker's going to have to be on his thing.
If you look back to last week with the Lions and the Rams, Cooper Kupp had, I think, 11 or 12 receptions. I'd expect the same. Godwin's playing that Cooper Kupp role. I'd expect Godwin to have a ton of catches in this game. Cohen's going to scheme him open, scheme him like that Cooper Kupp role. And they gave it up to Kupp. They'll give it up to Godwin in this game.
Yeah, the difference between the two teams is that Puka goes out, they have a Tyler Johnson, and I don't even know who else their wide receivers are at that point, right? So it's a little bit easier to cover, but Tyler Johnson still pulls off a massive play, becomes a impact play. They end up scoring a few plays later. So, but now you're dealing with Chris Godwin doing that, but then you have Mike Evans. Who's going to double Mike Evans, or who's going to cover Mike Evans?
That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Is like the
Jalen
Rams
McMillan.
going to over. Yeah, I mean, the Rams taking them to overtime. The Bucs are clearly a superior offensive roster and talent-wise on offense than the Rams right now. Say what you want, Cooper Kupp's elite, but we have more talent than that offense, especially in that game. With Nakua out,
yeah,
Godwin, Evans, McMillan, Bucky, Rashad is much more talented than Tyler Johnson, Cooper Kupp.
I don't know.
Who's their starter? Kyron Williams didn't play Blake Corum. Like, we have much more talent than the Rams do. And
you're not even talking about
Liam's really
Trey Palmer.
dialed in this, if Liam Cohen is dialed in and people are comfortable with this offense, I mean, I still think I'm a little hesitant to take them like straight up plus 300 money line, but I think this is a close game, and I think Vegas is disrespecting Tampa Bay with the 7.5 spread.
It's got to be the injuries. I think the injuries have to be taken into it. But yeah, man, just those three guys. But then you add in Rashad catching the ball in the backfield. He exposed the Lions in that playoff game. He did really, really well in the air. I expect them to still run the ball with Bucky and him the way they did last week. They should be a little bit better. Tristan Wirfs had a terrible, terrible game, in my opinion, by his standards last week.
That was crazy. Yeah.
And so I expect him to be a better run blocker this week because of that. And then you haven't even talked about a guy like Trey Palmer, who had his plays last week, even with J-Mac taking the spot at the third wide receiver. You have a plethora of weapons that you can use to expose a secondary that not only has Carlton Davis in it, but also has, again, two new starters, but one of them is a rookie from Alabama who had his bad moments against the Rams in a very similar offense designed to force you to make a decision to get guys open. And we saw what Liam did with Mike Evans and forcing one-on-ones. Well, the Lions run man-on-man coverage, 5th highest rate in the NFL. Okay? And guess what? Mike Evans rated by PFF as the 3rd best at beating man. So,
and by the way, Mike Evans against Detroit in the playoffs, 147 yards receiving and a touchdown.
And guys were on top of him the entire time, right? We saw him do it to the Commanders when they forced a one-on-one. So if you're going to have Chris Godwin doing what he does, and the focus is going to go to him naturally because of that role, 8, 10 catches, something in that range, he's going to maybe 12, 13, 14 targets. Mike is going to be one-on-one against a team that plays one-on-one a lot and doesn't do it very well on top of that. And he does it very well. So I'm confident in that. It just, again, can they make sure that they're not in the pocket for too long? If you look at the Commanders,
I don't think that's the case. I think the new offense is quick throws, quick screens, quick passes.
I agree.
It's an efficient, quick offense that Cohen's going to be installing. I wanted to get to this though. I think it's so vital in this game that the Bucs need to stuff David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs in that playoff game against us, 74 yards on the ground, 8.2 average per carry, and 40 yards receiving. He crushed us. We have to have the speed on defense to contain Jahmyr Gibbs because he really is the biggest problem they have on offense for us.
Yeah, I think so. Last 5-6 years, the Bucs have been really, really good at stopping the run. Last week, I think those numbers are a little inflated because you get 88 from the quarterback, young guy, very athletic, 4.3 dude. Goff's not that guy, so I don't expect them to give up that type of scenario to Goff. But you still got Vita Vea in there. You don't have Antoine, who plays a major role in that, but you got Jordan Whitehead. It's not Ryan Neal. We got Jordan Whitehead, who knows how to plug that. You also got Tyke Smith, rookie, albeit a rookie, but good against the run, knows how to blitz. He's going to have some exotic looks. He's going to have to play a lot more than he's played so far because of the injuries and with Izzy being back there. But Izzy's another guy, good, solid tackler. So I feel like the Bucs should be able to go in and control that run game for the Lions. But, whether Zion is 100%, whether Jamel Dean and him can figure out ways to, offset whatever the passing game is going to be. But I agree with you. If you stop the run and you win in the trenches in this game, that's ultimately what's decided these last 2 matchups with this team, right? They've beaten us on the trenches on both sides, both times. We have to do that. We have to punch them in the mouth physically. And if I go back and look at the Commanders game, I have a good feeling that that's been the emphasis all offseason, and they punch them in the mouth. So they're going to come in, and I think they understand it. You watch those press conferences, JC, they understand the gravity of this game and what it means, and they want to play this game.
So here's the next thing. We were kind of just talking about it. Christian Izien is probably going to be playing safety with Jordan Whitehead. So now Tyke Smith's going to have to play the flu game in the slot. Sounds like he's sick. He's got some sort of illness.
He's a dog. He'll get in there. Don't matter.
A guy. So we'll see what happens. I mean, McCollum's back at practice. The guy I'm interested in seeing is Funderburk, man. I tweeted this last night. Guy's a 4.3 cornerback. He's a ball hawk at App State. We know App State's, NCAA 25, but hell of a program. But I mean, the kid's an absolute ball hawk. Sometimes these opportunities are like made to happen to see these guys step up and become like really good players. Obviously, we have one of the best front offices as far as scouting players in the business. And for them to have this guy make the active roster was for a reason. There's something about this kid that they see that could be potentially moving forward in the future, a possible role player on this team.
Yeah, well, Todd and the guys have told these dudes when they started camp, like, if we pick you to make the 53-man roster, that means that we're comfortable with you going into a game and we expect you to make a play. Like that's the level that they're saying. We're not saying you're just making the 53, you're going to be on a practice. Like, that's not what it means. It means that we are comfortable with you. So that, again, says a lot for this kid to come in, make this 53-man roster, and now he's getting a chance to play. I think they're confident. I think they're going to have, sets put together for this defense to where they're not too exposed, but also not playing zone exclusively because against Goff and most NFL quarterbacks, you'll get picked apart. But again, like the topic bar says, Izzy and Tyke have to step up. And it's a little bit of a tall order for a guy like Tyke Smith. He's a rookie, but he's played at that pedigree program in the Georgia Bulldogs.
That's what we've always talked about. Yeah, I mean, this guy, he's a rookie, but he's ready for the moment at all times. He comes from Georgia. This kid's ready for this game, especially.
And I like that he's a ball hawk. That's what I think. And if you have him out there, I think he can match up speed-wise with their wide receivers. How we're going to stop, I believe it's Williams, their speedy wide receiver that the Lions use down the field. He killed us in that playoff game. How they're going to match that up, whether it's Jamel Dean, McCollum, maybe it's Tyke, they're all going to end up on him at some point or another. But I'm comfortable with Tyke Smith because of his ball skills. He's a guy that gets his hands on balls, makes impact plays, changes games. And Jamel Dean catches that interception in that playoff game. That might be a different ball game, right? That might be a pick six even all the way back because he had nobody in front of him. So I'm comfortable with Tyke getting out there. And I think he's one of those guys that when the moment is there, he's going to take it. He's going to grab it. And we've seen Izzy do the same thing. And we talked about this in the offseason, right? We talked about, should it be Izzy and should it be Tyke? What'd I say, JC? They're both going to end up playing because someone's going to get hurt anyway. Here they are, both of them on the field at the same time.
That's why Jason Light made that draft pick for Tyke Smith, man. Like, it gives us the depth that we didn't have before. Now we can move Izzy into safety. Tyke can stay in the slot. They can switch if they wanted to. Like, we have versatility in the secondary, and that's something we have not had in recent memory. And
what I was about to say too, you kind of took words a little bit out of my mouth, is last year we saw McCollum come in and they played a 3 safety rotational look at times, right? Now you got Izzy and Tyke Smith, who are both trained at safety and they both trained at nickel. They both are very comfortable in either position. So Todd's going to have a little bit of creativity still at his use and leverage there, regardless of Antoine not being in the game. Obviously, massive loss. But I think he's got guys now on the back end that make that loss a little bit less of a glaring, obviously you miss a guy like that, but it's not going to be something that's going to implode like when you have a Ryan Neal back there and nobody else, right? That is dangerous. You still got Jordan Whitehead, him and Antoine very, very close. They both understand each other's roles. He can slide in and become the leader of the pack back there and keep everyone in motion and keep things rolling. And I think I have this feeling, dude, I don't want to say it too loudly, but I have this feeling that they're going to play with a chip on their shoulder and be like, no one's expecting us to play well back here because Antoine's not here, but then they're going to end up turning in a really good game, in my opinion. So I'm kind of pumped to see it, man. And if it doesn't happen, I think we have the offense to continue to go back and forth and shoot it out like we talked about earlier.
And just what you just said right there is what I was going to say. Regardless of the defense, this is turning, the NFL is now turning into an offensive game. It's offensive. The better offensive teams are winning the games. defense is less of a priority. They're protecting players more. It's just turned into an offensive game. And that's where I want to go to Liam Cohen. So this hire, which I think we were all panicking when we're looking for a new OC because they're really taking their time, doing their due diligence, finding Cohen, man. I was going to say Cohen could be the Lions' kryptonite. You know, like that Rams team is not as talented as the Bucs. And for them to give that good of a game, and then Cohen just dialed in now with Baker. I mean, if you're looking at Baker's last 10 games in the NFL, he's a top 3 quarterback. So now Cohen comes from this McVay, Shanahan, like Baker and Cohen could be a very dangerous thing for the Bucs for the next decade. And Baker was asked on the sideline, he's like, how long are you going to play? He's like, I'm going to be here for a long time. And, my biggest thing, I know we did this with Canales last year, but like, this is like Liam Cohen is levels and levels ahead of Dave Canales as a play caller. And obviously it's only week 2 and I'm already panicking about losing Liam Cohen. Like we cannot let that guy leave. And
I don't think they're going to let it happen 2 years in a row. I don't think so. I think they'll have something in place behind closed doors.
Like a succession plan, right?
Yep. A very succession, type of scenario.
The players love Bowles. I love Bowles. I went back and forth. I had my issues with Bowles in the past, but it's clear as day. The players absolutely love Todd.
And
Todd
here's the thing,
loved
JC.
by the players.
Everyone said Todd's the reason the offenses do what they do. No matter who the guy changes, when it went from Byron to Dave, they still do the same thing. We were up 30-14 in the fourth quarter with 3 minutes and 20 seconds left in the game, and we threw the ball into the end zone for a touchdown to go up 37-14. Todd Bowles was the head coach on the sidelines during this play. So don't tell me that shit anymore. It's over. That narrative is dead. That narrative is done. Liam Cohen controls that side of the ball. Something
I absolutely loved was Liam Cohen's press conference when his answer was, they asked if Todd was going to say anything to him about the offense. Because he says, I'm full gas unless Todd tells me not to be. So what you just said, throwing that touchdown with 3 minutes or whatever, Liam's out for blood on offense, man. He wants this to be a juggernaut on offense. And we have every weapon on this offense to be an offensive juggernaut with the correct play calling. I mean, This is a whole different new era of Tampa Bay Buccaneers football.
And the thing too is you got to also think about it he's trying to get as many plays on tape as possible because he's obviously setting something up. He wanted that play call to be that he didn't want to just run the ball and waste time. A lot of these, and that's what makes him so different from Dave Canales, is he's more like the Sean McVay, where they're trying to, you're thinking about this, weeks and weeks and weeks ahead of time. And if you go back to what the Rams are able to do, again, we've kind of touched this 3 or 4 times. What the Rams were able to do against the Lions gave the Bucs a lot of answers, but they were also able to do that with, again, a offensive line that is much less talented than the Bucs. The Bucs, even with a rookie and even with Brendison in there, who's new to the unit, still are a better front 5. Even if we don't have, or even with us not having Gedeke playing, we're still a better talented unit. And so they're able to take that, use it as a template, find out what they did well, what they didn't do well, and basically expose what the Lions struggle at, which is pass coverage. And if you can keep Hutch at bay and you can figure out ways to help him, whether it's a chip, whether it's quick passes. I mean, we saw it. It is a quick twitch offense. It's just designed that way. And that's what they showed against the Commanders, who also have a good pass rush and a good front, especially in the middle. So that makes me comfortable. And I think that the Rams playing first before us is going to help us with so much of a cheat code, with so much of a cheat sheet almost going into this game. And you heard Baker talk about it when they asked him how much different is it this year that now you guys can kind of go in and maybe carry this team on that side of the ball as opposed to what's happened the last couple of years. And he goes, listen, we just go out there, we execute, we do our job. They're confident in that side of the ball. And I just think, man, Liam is so good at what he's doing. He's setting up the defense, and that play where Mike Evans scores on that one-on-one, which is really a running back screen to the right side, but Mike gets one-on-one, so that's the first read, and everyone knows it. Think about how he's going to do that to the Lions, who are going to be overly zealous to try to stop Mike Evans and overly zealous to try to stop Chris Godwin. And again, they already play the 5th highest man-to-man coverage rate in the NFL. It plays into the Bucs' favor, in my opinion.
I mean, think about this, though. So with the Rams and Lions game last week, Cooper Kupp has that monster game. Tyler Johnson has a monster game. We're talking about Tyler Johnson,
dude.
now we're talking about Chris Godwin replacing Kupp in that role, and we're talking about Mike Evans and Jalen McMillan and
Trey Palmer.
Trey Palmer. I said Jordan. Trey Palmer, but like
and Rashad and Bucky,
and Rashad and Bucky. I mean, when we go to the keys of the game, I'll talk more about Rashad and Bucky. But I mean, this Skull at right tackle, fine, okay, we will be able to overcome that. But now I'm talking myself into trying to bet this money line game again because now I'm getting all fired up, dude.
Well, I believe you gave on the money line dollars. You gave your Bucs full game parlay. Did you not?
I did. Yeah. You want me to get it out?
We'll have to get it at the end of this show too. But
yeah, we'll get it. I'll just get it ready.
Yeah. So,
but all right, let's go to the keys of the game.
The next, 3 keys of the game. Listen, man, I'll go first because I got to listen. It comes down to the Bucs winning in the trenches, but more specifically, win on first down. Last week, they were in such a good position on most of their second downs because they were very efficient and effective, whether it was a run or a pass on first down. And the Commanders didn't know what they were going to do. They were very unpredictable, and it kept them on their heels. And that allowed the Bucs to be in what I call second and fun. People making fun of it, but the Bucs have a lot of leverage when they're in second and 4, second and 5, second and 1. And that starts with the running game. That starts with making sure they're very efficient and effective. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. And like I said so many times throughout this show, JC, I think the fact that the Lions play so much man coverage against this team in the playoffs, it was different. It was Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and also a offensive play caller who didn't know how to take advantage of those guys and put them on the same side of the field and force coverages the way he wanted to in mismatches. Now with a Liam Cohen, who's shown us that he designs plays to get guys open specifically, and it took him all of 10 minutes into the game, like literal 10 minutes, not 10 minutes of game time, to get Chris Godwin and his wife extremely happy. So here we are, week 2. I mean, this is the game plan. Take advantage of their man coverage and create those mismatches and let our guys run with the ball and do what they do best, and just let's outscore them, dude. Fuck it. Let's just outscore them. Keys of the game right there for me. Yours?
My keys to the game, you got to contain Jahmyr Gibbs. I think Jahmyr Gibbs, like I said earlier, is the biggest threat on their offense to our defense. Like I said, in the playoff game, he had 74 yards on the ground, 8.2 yards per carry, and 40 yards receiving yards. You can't let him get loose. There's no way you can let him average 8 yards a carry. All right. No. You need to contain Gibbs. I think Baker for me, like one of the keys of winning this game is Baker needs to ball out like he did last week. He could basically replicate last week's game, and I would say I'd feel pretty comfortable about a W with that performance, because the reality is he had drop passes. He could have, if those passes were caught, he's over 300 and he probably has 5 touchdowns in the game.
Yeah, he had he had one that he overthrew, and then he had one that fell right out of J-Mac's hand. So you could have had. And then what you were saying earlier, my third key to the game is really Rashad and Bucky running and receiving, controlling the clock, getting chunks of yards, and slowing this game down to keep the defense rested and have long drives, which Cohen will do. He's a master at these chunk pickups, and you just control the clock. Bucky, Rashad, do your thing. So last night we watched the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills, and the Bills had a play that they anticipated that the Dolphins would be in man coverage. They ran a motion. They confirmed that it was man coverage, and they sneak Cook out, James Cook, to the left side. He scores that first touchdown, that little, scat back, pass that he ends up taking to the end zone. There's stuff like that in this playbook, and it's going to be Bucky that's going to be the guy that they key in on those plays, because it's going to be him and Rashad on the field at the same time. Fake the run to Rashad, zip around. Next thing you know, Bucky's just all by himself. Again, beating the man type of coverages that the Lions like to use. And if you can anticipate that, and obviously they play it a lot, I think the Bucs are going to be very prepared. They have the Sean McVay type of playbook. They have the cheat sheet from last week. Jahmyr Gibbs in that playoff game, he ends up scoring the dagger, in my opinion, in the fourth quarter that end up killing us, honestly. But I think if they can contain that, like you're talking about, win in the trenches on both sides, man, they have a chance to kind of take that early lead, possibly get the crowd out of it, and just just outscore these Lions, man. I think we have the pieces to do it, man. Honestly, it's wild to say from last year to this year. I'm just ridiculously confident. I know it's one game in, but man, you saw the concepts. The concepts are what give you the confidence, and that Baker's so confident too.
But I think the confidence, we're like, this is what I'm trying. Like Liam Cohen, what he's done for this team now compared to last year on offense, like the confidence we have is because we should have the confidence because we're seeing a premier product on offense that we've never had, not in a long time. We had the Brady offense, and even the Brady offense struggled. That was Byron Leftwich, some terrible calls, and they made it work and they won a Super Bowl. Our offense now is so much more creative than that offense. I mean, we're on a whole nother level, and we should have confidence in this game. So I think there's, once again, if they get a W in Detroit, then the national media, all the Rich Eisens, all the Chris Sims, especially Chris Sims, we're going to be talking like, oh, wow, everyone needs to say sorry. Everyone needs to say sorry to the Bucs. Everyone needs to say sorry to Baker if they can pull that off.
So I will say one thing too. The Lions have a good run stopping defense. They're one of the best in the league at that. They have one of the best offensive lines in the league on top of that as well. So they know how to run the ball and they know how to stop the run, which is a dangerous combo to have as a team. But if the Bucs can limit so last week against the Commanders, they had a few ugly reps in terms of the run game. They had a couple where Rashad's just getting tackled almost immediately in the backfield. And again, Graham didn't have a great game as a rookie. He did better in some pass blocking things. But if they can kind of limit those moments, those little, 2nd and 11, 2nd and 12 type of moments that we were able to overcome against the Commanders secondary, I think we fare better, obviously. But we found out after the game that when they ran zone, they did it really well against the Commanders. And when they would run a different type of run scheme, they didn't. So I think it was, again, one of those things where Liam was trying to also feel out what his team is good at, what they're comfortable with doing, and what they're not good at and not comfortable with. And that's, again, something that you can take advantage of when you have a big lead against a team that you should beat in the Commanders, and you end up having time to do that. That bodes well for you going into week 2, knowing, all right, we've struggled at this, so let's focus on these zone scheme type runs. Let's get these guys in motion and create these massive holes. We saw the Rams do it. We saw the 49, not the 49ers, the Dolphins do it last night at times with A-Chain. Very similar concepts that we run where we're using zone and we're using motion to create these open holes. So they got it. They can't have what they had happen against Commanders in terms of the backfield. But if they can shore that up a little bit, man, they're going to be ahead of the chains most of the time. And I'm with you. I'm confident that we can pull out a win if Baker looks and the offense looks like it did against the Commanders against the Lions.
So let me give you these Bucs prop parlay, the Bucs prop parlay here. I want to hear your reaction on some of these bets I chose for the Bucs. So Mike Evans, anytime touchdown.
Yeah, easy. That's easy money.
Baker Mayfield over 250.5 yards passing.
Has to happen. It's going to happen. Again, they stopped the run.
Godwin over 59.5 yards receiving.
What happened in the first half, dude? Hold on. Cooper Kupp had like 21 targets in the game. Okay?
I know. When I saw that bet, I was like, okay.
Literally the same role. So I would not expect him to have any less than 15 targets.
McMillan over 29.5 yards receiving, which basically, he needs 2 or 3 catches to get that. So that one, that was big on my parlay last week with the Bucs that I hit was McMillan touchdown and receiving yards. So I was like, you know what? I'll roll with my guy again.
Well, but JC, if you think about it,
Rashad over 24.5 receiving.
Who's the other corner to cover J-Mac, right? If they take their 2 starters on Chris and Mike, who's going to take that? Go ahead with Rashad. Sorry.
So Rashad over 24.5 yards receiving.
What? That's like 2 plays,
dude. This is stupid. And then this is the funniest one, I think. Baker Mayfield over 9.5 yards rushing.
Oh, yeah. He's usually good for 12, 14, 15 yards. All right. He might get 1 for a first down on his own. That's, yeah. Make sure, I'm definitely going to go and hammer that down. What is what's a $100 bet get back on that? What is the?
$25 for me wins me $650 on that.
Oh, yeah, dude, that's like taking candy from a baby, dude. What are you talking about? What? We could have hit yours last week in the first half if J-Man catches that touchdown, right? And I think it was done at that point.
Basically.
Yeah, it was. Oh, dude.
I mean,
yeah.
I put that one on. I put that one on Twitter, but let me just read this out. So
we'll tweet this one out.
just,
We'll tweet this one out after the show airs and after Moneyline Dogs airs.
That's
later
fine.
on tonight
Yeah.
too.
Let me just read this one out really quick. Though, hold on. Whatever. It's all good. It's on Twitter. People already saw it. It got a lot of likes.
And listen,
all right, guys.
Don't forget, before we forget, after the show, check out Moneyline Dogs full slate of the NFL games. You and Jake Arians go through your dogs of the week. We also go through some dog shit games of the week. But yeah, guys, got to check that out. Tune in right after the show. That'll premiere shortly thereafter. Go ahead. There.
No, I was just gonna say, follow us on Twitter, the 813 TV. Please subscribe on YouTube at the 813 TV. We're trying to grow that channel. You know, Samer and the boys have done a hell of a job growing the Loose Cannons channel, starting a new YouTube channel. It takes a while. So we're trying to build this 813 company to be a big deal. And you guys giving us those subscribes are huge for us. So we appreciate it and keep enjoying the content coming out from this new media company that we're very excited about.
Yep. And we will see you guys next Tuesday after the Bucs. Massive win in Detroit. And then everyone's talking, is Baker an MVP candidate? Go Bucs.